You ever feel like you're just stuck in this loop? You know the one. You stretch your back every single day, maybe even a few times a day, but that nagging tightness, that discomfort, it just keeps coming back. Well, if that sounds even a little bit familiar, trust me, you are not alone. So in this explainer, we're going to break down why that stretching routine you're so dedicated to might not be the long-term fix you think it is. And we're going to look at what your spine actually needs. Okay, let's just dive right in because this quote, it really hits home for so many of us, right? It just perfectly captures that feeling of doing everything you're supposed to do. You're disciplined, you put in the time, and yet you end up right back where you started. It's so frustrating. And you know what that tells me? It tells me the problem probably isn't you. It's not a lack of effort. So what is going on here? Seriously, if stretching more and more isn't the final answer, then it's pretty clear we're just misunderstanding the root of the problem. So let's peel back those layers and really get to the source. All right, and this is where we get to our first kind of big shift in thinking. See, we're all taught that back pain is a muscle thing, right? But what if the problem isn't about the length of your muscles at all? What if it's really about motion? Okay, now this is really interesting because it lays out the whole misunderstanding perfectly. On one side, you've got what we think is happening. My muscles feel tight, so they must be too short. Simple, I'll just stretch them. Makes sense, right? But then you look at what's often the real issue, and it's a completely different game. It's a joint motion and nervous system problem. And that one little shift in perspective, that explains everything. It explains why stretching feels good for a bit, but just doesn't last. And this really gets to the core of it. That tightness you feel all the time, think of it as just a symptom. It's the check engine light, not the engine problem. So when you stretch it, you're basically just putting a piece of tape over the warning light. Sure, it feels better for a little while, but you haven't actually addressed the real source, which a lot of the time is a joint that's just not moving the way it's supposed to. Okay, so if stretching the symptom isn't the answer, then what is? Well, this leads us to this really fascinating idea about your body's own intelligent, protective guard system. Now, this isn't the kind of tightness you get from a tough workout. Muscle guarding is totally different. It's a smart, deliberate response from your nervous system. Think of it this way. Your brain senses that something isn't quite right. Maybe a spinal joint has lost a tiny bit of its normal motion. So what does it do? It intentionally tightens up all the muscles around that spot to create a natural brace. It's literally acting like a bodyguard for your spine, trying to protect an area it thinks is vulnerable. And here's how that chain reaction plays out. It's a really simple but powerful cycle. First step, a joint in your spine loses just a little bit of its normal healthy motion. It could be super subtle, you might not even notice it. Step 2, your nervous system, which is crazy perceptive, flags this as a potential threat. It's like an alarm goes off. And step 3, in response to that alarm, it orders the muscles around that joint to lock down and guard the area. So that persistent tightness you're always feeling, that's just the end result of this whole protective process. And this is the key takeaway, really. You can stretch that guarding muscle all you want, and yeah, it might relax for a little bit. But as long as that joint is still stuck and your nervous system's threat alarm is still blaring, it's only a matter of time. The moment the stretch wears off, your brain just goes, nope, still a threat, and tells that muscle to tighten right back up again. But wait, there's another really important piece to this puzzle, one that we often overlook, and that's the role of chronic stress. Because stress can be the very thing that keeps your body stuck in this protective, high alert mode 24/7. And the source material points out this is super common for adults, say between 40 and 60. And it makes sense when you think about it, right? That's often a time of peak responsibility. You've got work, family, finances, the whole shebang. And all that constant, low-grade stress keeps your body's alarm systems just humming in the background. Your nervous system is basically stuck in this heightened protective state, which makes it nearly impossible for those guarding muscles to ever get the message to relax and reset. So how exactly does stress do this? Well, for starters, it cranks up your baseline muscle tension, so you're kind of always braced for a fight. It's constantly signaling your body to stay prepared for some threat that, never actually shows up. This makes your recovery from anything, a workout, a long day, way less efficient. And the big one, as so many of us know, is sleep. Stress can lead to that lighter, less restorative sleep, which is exactly when your body is supposed to be doing all its repair work. I mean, it's just a perfect storm for keeping that cycle of tightness going. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time talking about the problem. Enough of that. Let's pivot and talk about the solution. If the goal isn't just more and more flexibility, then what does your spine actually need? Well, the answer comes down to one word: precision. And this right here explains why stretching is so tempting and why it feels so good. You're not imagining it. There are real physiological reasons for that feeling. When you stretch, you're stimulating nerve receptors in your muscles, which temporarily chills them out. You're improving blood flow to the area, and you're even activating the calming rest and digest part of your nervous system. These are all real positive things that happen. But, and this is the big but, all those good feelings are temporary. They're like a short-term override of the system. Why? Because the root cause, that one little joint that's not moving right, is still there. You haven't addressed it. So once those temporary good vibes from the stretch wear off, that guarding cycle just kicks right back in, every time. And this highlights a really important difference. Look, general movement, walking, exercising, it's great. It's absolutely helpful for your health. But when you're dealing with this specific problem, it's really easy for your body to just cheat and move around the part that's stuck. You never actually fix it. What's truly transformative is precise joint motion, motion that targets and restores function to that exact spot. Think of it like this. General movement is like washing the whole car, but precise motion is like using the key to unlock the stuck door. And when that precise correction finally happens, the results are, well, pretty amazing. Your nervous system finally gets the all-clear signal. The threat is gone, so it stops telling those muscles to guard everything. And what happens? The muscles relax on their own. Circulation gets better, inflammation clears out more efficiently, and you actually start getting that deep restorative sleep you need. You're finally fixing the source, not just chasing the symptom. You know, I absolutely love this quote from the source material because it just captures the end goal perfectly. It's not that stretching is suddenly bad or you should never do it again. Not at all. It just shifts. It goes from being this desperate thing you have to do every day just to get by to being something you choose to do for general wellness. And that right there, that is the huge difference between temporary relief and a real functional correction. So we'll leave you with this to think about. What if we just reframed the whole goal? Instead of endlessly chasing more flexibility, what if the real goal was just better function, better, more precise movement in your spine? Because maybe, just maybe, shifting that one perspective is the key to finally breaking that cycle of tightness for good.